Chapter 23. It was a warm spring day in May, and Jeramie and Aalliyah planned to go to the local park. From the preserve, the two left to walk to the park. In one hand, Jeramie carried a picnic basket, and the other was intertwined with his girlfriend's. They walked through the park until they found a peaceful spot under the shade of a tree. Jeramie set the basket down on the bench and pulled out a thin checkered blanket. He flapped it onto the ground, and Aalliyah helped straighten the edges. Then the two sat down facing each other. Carefully, Jeramie poured them each a glass of wine. They sipped it slowly as they ate the sandwiches they had made at the house in the morning. Jeramie met Aalliyah's eyes and stated, "Oh, my darling, you have honey on your lips. I'll get it for you." He leaned in closer and overlapped his lips on hers. When he pulled away, she chuckled, "Did I even have honey on my lips, or were you just using it as an excuse to kiss me?" He grinned innocently, knowing she knew him too well. Of course, then, he stole a few more. He kissed her neck, and she shifted, losing her balance of being propped against her arm and fell onto her back. She giggled and kissed his forehead. Jeramie leaned over her and placed a smooch on her lips, and then kissed her neck again. "Wait, Jeramie," she pleaded. "We are in a public park. People walk by all the time." "So?" he questioned, puzzled. "It's normal for couples to kiss in the park." Aalliyah laughed. "Oh, I thought for sure this was going to spiral out of control." "Goodness, no, I wouldn't do that to you. Not here in the open, and definitely not yet. I love you, truly I do, but we've only been together for 7 months, and I'm not ready to go there yet. And if I had to guess, I would say you aren't either. It's still too soon after Nate." Aalliyah nodded slightly. She had mended for the most part by now, but she was terrified she would lose Jeramie. After that, they briefly stopped at the house before walking to the library. There was a book sale event in the afternoon, and Aalliyah volunteered to help set up. The books were donated from the local families or schools that no longer needed or wanted the books. Erica, the head librarian, pulled into the parking lot just as Aalliyah and Jeramie arrived. Aalliyah hurried over as Erica popped the trunk of the car. In the trunk were bags and boxes filled with books of the same donation drop-off locations. "Should we go inside and set up the tables first?" inquired Aalliyah. Erica replied, "Already done." "Perfect. Then I guess we just need to carry all of these books in." Erica nodded. Aalliyah grabbed the first crate, and Jeramie took one then. Together the three of them went inside and set it on the tables by where the other librarian was. Then they returned outside. Aalliyah went to grab the one reusable bag, but Erica quickly warned, "Careful, that one is really heavy." "I'll be fine," insisted Aalliyah. "I can just swing it on my shoulder. I probably can grab a box then, too." She lifted the bag and felt it buckle. The thick woven threads of the plastic, though, maintained the tote from ripping. It was heavy, easily weighing 20 pounds. Aalliyah didn't let it show, though, and looped her arm through the handles. Then she slid a small box to the edge of the trunk and lifted it into her arms. "You got it?" inquired Jeramie, and she nodded. She started towards the library and climbed up the few steps to the entrance. On each step, she felt the weight pulling on her leg muscles while her shoulders screamed out for relief. Jeramie walked immediately behind her, so if she fell, she'd land on him. However, she was fine and managed to get up the stairs. She shifted so she could open the door. "I'll get the door," Jeramie declared, placing the blocks on his hip and hurrying in front of his girlfriend. She smiled gratefully. Slowly, she strolled across the library. As soon as she set the tote bag down, she sighed heavily, almost out of breath. "You're going to feel that later. I'll be okay." Aalliyah took a deep breath and went outside again to bring in more books. Once all had been moved inside, she helped finish the setting up. She glanced at the clock and grinned, seeing they had finished it just in time for it to start. The book sale went great in the 3 hours it ran, but there were some books left over. Aalliyah started stacking the loose standing ones and then loaded them into the tote bag. The leftover books would be taken to another location where they would be sorted and sent to lower-income schools and families across the world. When she had the bag as full as it could be, she slung it over her left shoulder again. Jeramie saw her face slightly twinge in pain, but she twisted it into a smile, seeing him gazing at her. She didn't want him to worry. "Would you like any help?" he inquired. "I got it," she assured. Once Erica's car was all packed, Aalliyah and Jeramie walked home, hand in hand. When they arrived, they sat down on the lover's seat couch. Jeramie turned the TV on, and selected from the menu one of their favorite shows to watch, A Discovery of Witches. They had already watched the entire series 1,000 times, but it was too good to resist. Casually, Jeramie thought, "How is your shoulder?" "All right," she informed, but added, "if I don't touch it or move it too much." "That's what I thought. May I work on it?" "Yes, please." He slid the fabric from her shoulder and started digging his fingers into her skin delicately. He felt the back base of her neck and was tight, and she groaned softly. "You did quite the number on your shoulder and put a lot of strain on it from so much weight." He continued massaging it and working on her tight muscles. Then he leaned down and kissed her shoulder. "Now it feels a lot better," she remarked. "Why, because I kissed it?" She nodded, so he kissed it again. Jeramie smooched her neck then. "I love you," he said softly. "I love you too, Jeramie. You are the reason my heart beats. I could never make it through life without you. Neither could I." The end of July was approaching, and in one evening, Aalliyah and Jeramie were getting ready for bed. Jeramie was sitting on the edge of the bed, watching her as she brushed her hair. He declared, "I know before you loved attending the dance on the 1st of August, but I wanted to see how you felt about going this year. I know it used to be a wonderful time and a lovely memory, but now likely you associate it with the destruction of yours and Nate's relationship." "I don't," corrected Aalliyah. "I associate that night with the day everything fell into place. It is what brought us together, which needed to happen. We belong together. I would love nothing more than to go and celebrate finding my true love." Jeramie smiled and kissed her cheek. This year for the dance, Aalliyah decided to change her style a bit and let her hair remain down, and kept it from her face by adding a black headband. The gown she chose was a mint green tank top, emerald green skirt, and a black waistband. On her delicate feet were a pair of black flats. Jeramie went with a rich blue button-down dress shirt and midnight blue pants to complement his half-Irish lass. Arm in arm, they walked throughout the town to the tavern where it would be held. Jeramie could have driven to save time, but the two decided it'd be fine to take the 30-minute walk instead of more, and it'd be more fun. The two sat down to eat dinner and slowly sipped a glass of wine. Their hands remained on top of the table, linked the entire time, and a smile never left their lips. The dance floor started filling, and Jeramie stood up. He bowed lightly when he was beside his true love and inquired, "May I have this dance?" "Of course," she chimed. She picked up her wine glass and rapidly emptied the last little bit remaining. Jeramie chuckled, and then she placed her hand in his, rising from the table. Around and around and around they twirled through song after song. Neither wanted to stop dancing, despite wearing down and needing a drink or even a break. A slower song started playing, and Jeramie pulled Aalliyah closer until their chests were touching. She swayed with him and laid her head on his shoulder, cherishing his embrace. A moment later, she lifted her head and let him spin her lightly out and back in. She grinned as she gazed up at his shining green eyes. Jeramie leaned down and kissed her, letting it linger for a long minute. The song ended, and finally the two decided to get a drink. Jeramie was surprised Aalliyah chose ice water instead of something else, but then she took a glass of wine too. She drank it slowly, clearly not wanting to forget the night and wanting to be able to stand on her feet tomorrow. The two sat and talked for a bit while Aalliyah finished the glass and then returned to the dance floor. Finally, most of the crowd started leaving, and Aalliyah and Jeramie decided they should as well. Jeramie wrapped his arm around her waist, and the two started walking in the direction of the little house. However, then they decided to stroll off the side streets, enjoying the cool air. They laughed and they talked and they walked all over town. Street after street fell beneath their feet. Through the parks they roamed, over the hills, through the meadows, by the street lamps, and on they went. Of course, they were conscious how far they were wandering and made sure not to stray too far. After it had been nearly an hour and a half of walking, the two started circling back by continuing down paths they didn't take that night yet. They passed the library, and Aalliyah paused for a moment. She reflected back on how different her life had been when she was a librarian and how far she had come since then. The memories made in that place swirled through her mind. It was clear to her she loved her books and they ran through her veins, but the library wasn't the place where she belonged, not anymore. Her eyes met Jeramie and she kissed him. He was where she belonged. August 28th came around and Aalliyah woke up. She sat up when she realized the spot next to her in the bed was empty. Most often, Jeramie waited for her to awaken before climbing out of bed, unless it was getting late. When she looked at the clock, she saw it was about the same time as usual. She made her way out of the bedroom and then saw him sitting on the balcony with a bleak look gazing into the distance. She slid the door open and stood next to him, placing her hand on his left shoulder blade. "Are you okay, my love?" she inquired. "I'm fine," he reported. "Just a lot is on my mind." "Like what?" "You?" She chuckled. "I'm always on your mind." "Yes, but today is your birthday. I know Nate had a tradition he loved to follow with you. Last year you were still deeply wounded on your birthday and we weren't together yet, but we are now. I don't want to rush you. I don't want to hurt you. But neither do I want to steal away a tradition you cherished. How do you feel?" "We have almost been together a year, and my love for you is so strong. I know you are the person I'm meant to be with forever, and you know it too. I don't think it is too soon for us to become intimate, if you are comfortable. I am comfortable. I also would not want to force it. If a moment arises throughout the day, even if it's noon, when the mood is right, then we should take advantage of that. It'll be okay. So, you had said you wanted to show me a place I've never seen before today? Will you tell me now where?" Jeramie shook his head with a sly smile. The day started, as every day typically did, by going to the preserve, but then Jeramie took Aalliyah to the trails in the woods. Many days they had walked the trails, so she wondered which one he had yet to show her, but the mountains were thick and twisted in every direction, so surely there had to be some he didn't show her. She pondered why it was so significant they hiked this trail on this particular day. As they were walking, she heard the sound of running water begin to get louder, and soon she saw the little stream trailing through the woods. Further up the path, the stream widened, and the water seemed to move a bit faster. Louder and louder the water sounded. Then Aalliyah caught a glimpse of a cascade of water coming from the sky and knew it had to be a waterfall. The path opened to a small glade, leaving a grassy side to the stream and waterfall. Aalliyah marveled at its beauty and set her backpack down. Jeramie came up behind her and folded his arms around her, crisscrossing them over her belly. He leaned in and kissed her cheek. Now he understood what she meant earlier by the right mood being created. He pushed her sleeve off of her shoulder and kissed her the bare skin. "Is this okay?" he inquired. "Yes," she answered with a hint of a laugh forming. "It's only my shoulder. You've kissed it before." He pushed her sleeve down further and placed his lips on her shoulder blade, and then rose and canoodled her neck, and she sighed softly. "I haven't the slightest clue what I'm doing. I don't want to hurt you." "You won't. I will guide you. Nate's hurt me enough I know well the line and how to avoid the pain. Besides, the way you kiss me is so much more gentle than he ever was, so I highly doubt you could hurt me even if you tried." He smiled to hide the fact he was anxious he would do something wrong. Slowly he lifted her shirt from her and carefully laid it on top of her backpack. She laughed. "You mustn't be so cautious. A little dirt never hurt anything." He grinned and tossed his own shirt to the ground. He stole a kiss, and then she sat down on the soft grass. Jeramie looked at her, puzzled, but then realized she was simply guiding him in the steps, so he joined her on the ground. He searched her eyes, pondering the next move. Slightly she nodded, hinting for him to go on. Gently he laid her down in the grass and kissed her soft lips again. Taking a breath, he took off the remainder of his clothing. Then he pulled her shorts off and started getting closer to her. "Jeramie, wait," she cried with fear shimmering in her eyes. "What's wrong?" She sighed heavily as he hesitated and let her shoulders fall loose. "You're about to hurt me badly, like Nate did that night you were there." "I'm sorry. It's okay. I told you I'd guide you." "All right, so what do I do?" "Be more intimate first." "How?" "You could shower me in kisses." His smile widened and he started kissing her lips repeatedly, barely letting her get a breath in between. She slipped her finger onto his lips, separating them briefly. "I didn't mean just my lips," she declared, glancing down the entirety of her body. Cautiously he let his mouth linger at her collarbone and glanced up, meeting her eyes to see if she hesitated, but she didn't. Slowly he moved and placed a single kiss on her chest. "Is that okay?" Aalliyah sighed, almost annoyed. "Yes, you don't have to be so cautious, though." She let a chuckle escape. "I will tell you otherwise if you are making me uncomfortable. I promise." He inhaled deeply and returned his lips to her skin. He moved to her belly and paused at her waistline. Go on, she urged. He took a trembling breath, but then met the forbidden fortress. At once she flinched. I'm so sorry, he cried. No, you didn't hurt me. It's a good thing. You are so gentle compared to Nate. It's amazing. He grinned, growing a bit more confident in himself, and continued smooching her. Her breathing increased and her heart raced. Jeramie, you can unite us if you are ready to. You won't harm me now. He found her lips again, and then bound the two as one. A few minutes later, he lied down on his back, breathing heavily and trying desperately to catch his breath. Aalliyah gave in a moment before sitting up, but she kept her hand in his. He saw she had a playful smile. He didn't get a chance to question it when she rolled over, tossing herself in the stream, and he tumbled in. They surfaced, and she kissed him with a glint in her eyes. They remained in the refreshing water for a little while, but then finally Aalliyah climbed out and lied down in the soft grass. Then Jeramie joined her on the ground and coiled his arm over her. The two gazed up at the clear sky through the trees and soaked up the peaceful forest. Jeramie declared, We should get our clothes back on. Not yet, stated Aalliyah. Why? She laughed. We're soaking wet and didn't bring towels. We should dry off first. Besides, no one is around. It's just us and the birds. It's a warm day. We'll be dry soon enough. He relaxed and soaked up the moment, letting the sound of the forest be the only noise. His mind replayed the minutes before, recounting every part of it. Feather! He cried in alarm. What's wrong, Jeramie? Aalliyah inquired, propping herself up to her right elbow. I wasn't thinking, and we weren't careful. You could end up with child. I know, she said calmly. You noticed? Why didn't you stop me? It wasn't a big deal. That's why the second you gave me space, I pulled us into the river. Besides, once Nate forgot and nothing happened. I know one time can be all it takes, but maybe that won't be the result. And if it is, then it is. She kissed him and continued, It doesn't matter because I have you, and whatever the outcome, we will face together.